As he drove along Moravia Road, headed toward Harford Road, a man stepped into the street and opened fire. 11 shots rang out, ripping through the driver's side window of Scoot's car. Paramedics raced him to the hospital, but the damage had already been done. Tyrese Lor Scoota Watson was pronounced dead. Just hours after asking Baltimore to pray for peace, he became another headline in his long list of gun deaths. The police didn't sugarcoat it. They called it what it was. Targeted. A hit.
Mula gang, Lor Scoota was a Baltimore drill rapper that lost his life in his city. They say his ops did him a real bad way. Rest in peace to him. We about to uncover exactly who killed him and the whole story of how he died. Before we do that, we gonna flame up that doink. We gonna roll it up in some guava leaf. I had me a fat doinky rolled up in one of these right here, the whole leaf. I had one of them rolled up last night. I'm gonna kick back. I said, yeah, dang. I want you to have that feeling, man. That's why I be putting
Just
my
moments after leaving a peace festival, an up-and-coming Baltimore rapper was gunned down at a busy Northeast Baltimore intersection. Now, as police search for his killer, an eyewitness recounts the bloody ambush.
And the next thing you know, I'm ducking and running. It was unbelievable. Something like you would see in the movie. It's sickening.
It looked like a movie, I ain't gonna lie.
He could have killed an innocent bystander. Bullets do not.
Woo, look at that big old
In West
shell.
Baltimore, survival is a coin toss and loyalty can get you killed.
Woo.
Lil Scooter turned street scars into anthems, but the same city that made him famous wanted him gone. His YBS crew was tied to local gangs. For context, rival rapper YGG Tay, leader of an Eastside group called the Young Go-Getters, was later indicted in the federal Black Gorilla family case, which fed some of that chatter. Importantly, investigators flatly rejected any rat beef motive in Scooter's case. Baltimore police emphasized that neither his shooting nor others linked to him had anything to do with music rivalries. In the end, friends remember Scooter more for positivity than for any street grudges. Before the final chapter of his story, his early legacy was clear. A young man who turned West Baltimore's toughest realities into raw anthems for the city. It was supposed to be just another Saturday, June 25, 2016. Scooter had spent the day doing what most wouldn't expect from a rising rapper, hosting a charity basketball game at Morgan State University under a banner that read, "Pray for peace in these streets."
That's crazy, bro. He died that same. No, tell me he died that same day, bro. Don't tell me he got unalived that same
cameras,
day, bro.
It was for the city, for the youth who looked up to him, for the streets he came from. But by 6:56 p.m., barely a mile from the game, all that hope was ripped apart. As he drove along Moravia Road, headed toward Harford Road, a man stepped into the street and opened fire. 11 shots rang out, ripping through the driver's side window of Scoot's car. He slumped at the wheel. Police rushed to the scene and paramedics raced him to the hospital, but the damage had already been done. Tyrese Lor Scoota Watson was pronounced dead. Just hours after asking Baltimore to pray for peace, he became another headline in his long list of gun deaths. The police didn't sugarcoat it. They called it what it was. Targeted. A hit.
I want to put y'all on to some of the easiest money you'll ever make in your life. Freecash.com is a website that allows you to literally get paid hundreds of dollars just for playing video games on your phone. All you need is an email and a password. Follow the directions on each of the campaigns and you can earn at least $100. My personal favorite game to play was Sunrise Island, and when I clicked on it, they had a $370 bonus. I got $370 just for playing a video game on my phone. On average, it only takes about 17 minutes for most people to start earning money on freecash.com. So if you need some free, easy, extra money, go to freecash.com, click the QR code right here, or go in the description below and start getting that bag. You did?
Broad daylight in the middle of traffic, just minutes after doing something positive.
Broad daylight in the middle of traffic.
It was a statement, not a mistake. TJ Smith, the police department spokesman at the time, went on Twitter and said what many were thinking. He entertained many, now gone, just like that. We are better than this.
That's crazy, bro.
But Baltimore, once again, was bleeding, and this time it was someone who had actually tried to change the cycle. Scooter's death wasn't just a loss.
And I'm pretty sure they say that the dude YGG Tay, which we did a video on him like a week ago, like 5-6 days ago or something like that. I think they saying that he actually got arrested and this was on one of his RICO charges for this murder of this
gut punch to the entire city. Not because he was a rapper, not because he was famous, but because he was real, because he was from it, because he was one of the few voices who could tell the truth about what was going on out here and still be respected by everyone, young, old, street, or square. And now he was gone. The shooting shattered a city already ravaged by violence. In 2015, Baltimore had ended the year with a record 344 homicides, the deadliest year in decades. And by mid-2016, the toll was still climbing, 133 murders by late June. Scooter had risen amid that turmoil as a young man straddling two worlds. He rapped about street life, yet also organized peace rallies and youth lectures. His killing hit home across Baltimore. Within hours, friends and fans held impromptu vigils. One arose at North and Pennsylvania Avenues, a few blocks from where riots had roared the city after Freddie Gray's death in 2015. Hundreds gathered Sunday night under candles and posters reading "Pray for Baltimore," honoring a rapper who only hours earlier had been preaching unity. Police lineups quietly monitored the crowd, which initially dispersed peacefully. On Monday, a larger vigil was planned near the Shake and Bake skating rink in Northeast Baltimore, where Scooter had first performed. Music artists and community activists showed up in force. City Police Commissioner Kevin Davis praised the crowd as a largely peaceful gathering of people who cared for this young man that this city really loved.
Yeah, I don't even think he was really into it with nobody though.
As mourners spilled into surrounding streets, the crowd outgrew the corner block. Davis noted later that only a couple decided to act in their own self-interest and agitate the crowd, throwing bricks and bottles at officers. Riot gear-clad officers formed lines and helicopters hovered overhead, eventually arresting a few individuals. By late evening, the vigil ended quietly with the police reopening the block. Amid the mourning, locals seized on Scooter's story as a symbol. Activist Catalina Bird, who had been planning a youth forum on trauma care, told The Guardian, "This isn't just a regular homicide. He was the epitome of getting out. And for him to not get all the way out and get killed in the way he did, and it looked targeted and make them feel like there's nothing but hate, even when you're doing good things." At Scooter's funeral, the Rev Jamal Bryant addressed a packed congregation. "Whenever you speak for the masses, you're a target for murder," he said, noting that Scooter had been one of Baltimore's bright new, like Gray's, forced neighbors to confront the root causes of the city's blood. Scooter's rap, the rapper slang TJ Pierce, people, other words in Venezuela had nation, and on July, the city's bloodshed. Days later, police began to outline a motive. In early July, just after Scooter's manager Trayvon Trusley was himself shot dead in northwest Baltimore, police described the rapper's slaying as an act of retaliation. In a television news briefing, Police Director TJ Smith said Scooter had not been the shooter in an earlier violent incident, but that it appears he might have been associated with the person who committed the violent act. And for whatever reason, the people who were involved in this
So he got killed because what his homies did, bro. He was hanging around somebody who they thought killed somebody, so they got him.
Activity decided to take out their murder on him. In other words, Scooter was treated as collateral damage, a convenient target and vengeance for someone else's gunfire. Investigators even used the phrase "a tennis match of violence" to describe how one shooting led to another. This official theory all but ruled out any rap feud motive. Baltimore police publicly dismissed the idea of a music industry vendetta. In fact, by the time Scooter's manager was killed, Chief Smith noted simply that the two crimes had no proven link. Just our leading theory was that both were fallout from prior street shootings. No gang spokesman or rival rapper ever came forward.
And admitted to
Police
it.
Commissioner Davis called Scooter's death a brazen murder that happened in broad daylight, but emphasized that the case belonged to detectives, not showbiz drama. Another layer of tension surrounding Scooter's rise came not just from rivals, but possibly from his own side of town. In the years leading up to his death, whispers began to circulate that jealousy was growing back home.
Oh, you know
Some
that.
felt he switched up, others didn't like the spotlight he was getting.
You know
it wasn't unusual in Baltimore. Success could be seen as a betrayal, especially in a city where so many are trapped in place. That tension only escalated with the diss track dropped in January 2015 by fellow Baltimore rapper Shy Money, titled "Trying Out Me." In the song, Shy Money claimed he was the one who came up with the bird flu dance, Scooter's biggest hit, and the movement that helped put him on the map. The track was more than music. It was a direct shot at Scoota's credibility and the authenticity of his come-up. Behind the scenes, the detectives did follow some online trails. Social media chatter had exploded with speculation. Fans on Reddit and elsewhere spun stories that Scoota's murder was payback by rivals in the local YBS crew, or even connected to a separate scandal involving a rogue Baltimore police officer. Some pointed out that Scoota's close friend, Fred Catchings, aka Lil Fred, was facing charges for shooting another Baltimore man just days before the charity game. A few threads linked Scoota's killing to that ambush. In fact, years later, prosecutors would confirm that Scoota's death was indeed tied to Catchings' case. But none of these rumors were proven. Police urged citizens not to take justice into their own hands, as TJ Smith warned the public. If you're looking at this from a retribution standpoint, it's a waste of time. We'll be back up here talking about you and your friends. Investigators now had multiple homicides all tied to one community of young artists. In October 2016, Cortez Mitchell, identified by police as a person of interest in Scoota's case, was himself ambushed in a car and killed. A WBAL report noted that Mitchell had been one of 4 people police were looking into in connection with Scoota's death, and that his own shooting was described by authorities as retaliatory violence. By 2017, the circle closed grimly. Scoota's friend Fred Catchings accepted a 32-year prison sentence after admitting in court to a July 2016 shootout that had wounded 3 people.
So he admitted to court that he got into a shootout, it seemed like right before or right after Scoota died.
The exact altercation that set off the chain of revenge. Prosecutors told reporters Scoota had been killed hours after Catchings opened fire on a man named Devontae Robinson, and that police
so they got get back, right? They was like, oh yeah, say less. That ain't no coincidence at all, gang.
Believe the killers of Scoota were acting in retaliation. In short, the police explanation had proven tragically correct. Scoota's death was not the start of a rap war, but a late chapter in a street vendetta. Lor Scoota's murder was just one thread in the larger tapestry of Baltimore's violence. That summer, Baltimore had already seen 133 homicides, nearly matching the previous year's pace. Each killing, from Freddie Gray to Lor Scoota, forced the city to ask how a young life so full of promise could be snuffed out. Youth outreach worker Aaron Mabin reflected the community's heartbreak. He was just scratching the surface of whoever he was going to end up being. Where would Malcolm X be if he was killed at 23? He asked, mourning Scoota's unrealized potential. At a press conference in the week after Scoota's death, community leader Derek Chase noted that Scoota was not just a reporter of what happens here in Baltimore, but a mirror reflecting the city's struggles. In the end, Scoota's slaying became both a symbol and a caution. For the Watson family, friends, and fans, the loss.
And that be the sad part, bro. Like, when niggas, if you out here stepping on people and you end up getting unalived, or you on a hit and you end up getting unalived, it's like, I can't really feel that bad for you. You know what I'm saying? But if you an innocent man who just be rapping and chilling, he don't be on nothing, he don't bother nobody, he coming from a charity basketball game, and you unalive this nigga because his homie got in a shootout with you, like, that's weird to me, bro. I'm sorry, bro. That's lame.
At Scoota's own memorial, his assistant Alexis Savage asked aloud to the night sky, when they murdered you, did they look into your eyes and see the millions of children's dreams that he crushed?
That's crazy.
Baltimore heard those words and nodded. Scoota's death was another call to say, as so many activists urged, enough is enough.
That's crazy.
And from the corner somewhere said, this is Black history, so it's just enough to offer you another chance. The case of Lor Scoota, like too many in Baltimore, remains officially unsolved, a tragic coda to a talent and message silenced far too soon. The city's pain and the unanswered questions continue to echo in the streets he tried to heal.